goes. D.C. is one of the safest places to live. Who knew? But why is that? We're finding out more from Debbie Hersman. She's president and CEO of the National Safety Council. You may recognize Debbie as the former chair of the National Transportation Safety Board. Debbie, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
First of all, we're safest here. I'm thinking that's because of the roads and maybe our transit system?
Well, you know, one of the great things that you have here in the D.C. area is Maryland, Virginia, and D.C. are in the top 10 as far as the safest places to live when it comes to unintentional injury deaths. And that's because they've done a good job with passing strong driving laws and also prescription painkiller laws as well.
What do you mean? For whom? For the person who's then going to go out and maybe drive and not realize they're under the influence?
Yeah. So with respect to safe driving, Maryland has done a great job with their teen driving laws. They actually have a coalition here in Maryland, and they have reduced the fatalities of teen drivers in these states that have coalitions by over 50%. And so this is great news. They're making progress on highway safety. But here in D.C., they've passed laws regarding prescription painkillers. Physicians and pharmacists are required to check a drug monitoring program to make sure that people aren't doctor shopping and getting prescriptions from 3 or 4 different places. And so that's really cutting down on those overdose deaths.
It's interesting. We don't think of that as one of your areas of expertise. I'm thinking more maybe seat belts. You know, we've been strapping our kids in to seatbelts since they were children. Now as teenagers, maybe they don't give it a second thought. But you're saying that even amongst young people, the matter of prescription drugs and not realizing its full effect on you, especially as a young person.
Sure. Well, when it comes to the teen driving, so for example, in Maryland, they have a Teen Safe Driving Coalition, and that coalition really works to educate them about seatbelt use, about not driving impaired, about putting the cell phone down. And so there are really good laws about safe driving. We want to make sure that nobody's talking on their cell phone while they're driving. That's a real risk factor. But one of the things that people don't know is that poisonings have overtaken motor vehicle crashes as the #1 cause of unintentional death. And the majority of poisonings are made up of drug overdoses, and the majority of those are prescription painkillers. More people killed by prescription painkiller overdoses than cocaine and heroin combined. So the most dangerous thing for us, it may not be that plane ride or the shark attack. It's really sitting in our driveway or in our medicine cabinet.
And what do we do about it? What's the answer?
So some of the great things are really education, making sure that people know what best practices are. And so that's why we put out these releases about odds of dying, to get people to really think during the summer months, people really want to have a great time. But actually, July is the worst month in the year as far as unintentional death and injury. We see a lot of car crashes. People are on vacation. They're traveling a lot, putting a lot of miles. Yeah, and drownings are very high in the summertime, too. So it's really about looking at the things that are risks. And when you're having a good time, when you're having the barbecue, make sure you think about what are some of the things that could happen that could hurt you, your family, or your friends. You know, don't drive impaired. That's one of the big killers in the summertime with those holiday weekends.
And last thing I want to ask you about texting and driving. I mean, you as someone who has investigated all kinds of disasters on the road, rail, what have you, airplanes. Does it not drive you crazy when you're driving a car and you see someone's on their phone?
You know, it's so problematic, and I think we're all addicted to our devices and feel the need to be connected 24/7. But the National Safety Council just released a report about 2 weeks ago. 27% of all crashes are attributed to cell phone use. And so we have got to get this issue under control.
Something that some of us grew up without cell phones or learned to drive without them. The young people today don't know a thing about it. Debbie Hersman, thank you very much. National Safety Council, thanks for being in with us this morning. Allison?
All right, Bob, thank you. 7:52 now. Next week will mark the second